The recording starts, we'll start with the session. Yeah. So, good morning. Once again, welcome you all to yet another online tutorial on microwaves and antennas. Right. So, we are discussing about transmission lines, and in today's session, we'll be discussing about reflection coefficient and transmission coefficient. These are two very important parameters as far as the transmission line is concerned, and these parameters have got some practical importance aspects as well, right? So, and yesterday I made the material available to you all, and I asked everyone to just go through that and come so that I can sort of rush through the material, and we don't have to spend more time on that. So I believe all of you have just read the topics, right? So now we'll just start with, right? So today's agenda is we'll have to study about reflection coefficient and transmission coefficient. So we'll be, so as far as university exam is concerned, right, these are a sort of actually what chore questions, right? In there was no university exam paper without the derivation, right, without asking the derivation of either reflection coefficient or transmission coefficient, right? So, and it has got practical importance uh, as well, right? So meanwhile, am I audible? Voice is clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, okay, yeah, fine. So I'll go ahead with the discussion. Hope my screen is visible, right? Hope the screen is visible, right? So I have just used the same material which is made available to you, right? I think someone else is trying to join in. I'll just accept. Yeah. So yes. Yeah. So we'll. Yesterday I gave you a sort of introduction about actually what reflection and transmission coefficient. So the basic idea about a transmission line is, right, unlike our lumped circuit networks which we have seen, right, a transmission line we are using actually what distributed network approach. There we are assuming the resistance, inductance, capacitance, or this conductance, it is distributed along the length of the line. So the primary constants are RLGCs, those are per unit length, right? And we have seen if a transmission line, right? So I'll just show this, I'll use this figure, right? So this is a transmission line. You can see there is a generator or a source, and there is a this ZG is internal impedance of the generator. I've shown it as pure resistance, right? And ZL is the load, and we are assuming the input port is kept at Z equal to 0, and the output port or the load port is kept at Z equal to L, right? And in any given point, right, I'll measure the distance from, right, if I say yeah, so any given point I'll be measuring the distance from Z equal to 0, right? So reflection coefficient, it is defined as, right, it's normally we'll designate it as gamma. So I'll just right, take here, right. Normally we'll designate it as gamma, right, capital gamma, right, and it is defined as a ratio of reflected voltage to the incident voltage, ratio of reflected voltage to the incident voltage. So you are pretty much clear with the concepts of reflected voltage and incident voltage. So what happens is, if this ZL is not equal to Z0, if ZL is not equal to characteristic impedance, what happens is a part of the incident wave will be reflected back and remaining part will be delivered to the load, right? So at any given point, on the line, the reflection coefficient, so this reflection coefficient, in fact, actually what, it's a function of Z. It's not a constant for a transmission line. Throughout the length, it's not a constant, so it's a function of Z, and at any given point the reflection coefficient is given as a ratio of reflected voltage to incident voltage, or it is actually what, minus of reflected current to incident current. Both will be same, right? So at a point Z, right, you know, V is equal to what, at any given point Z, V is equal to V plus e power minus gamma Z plus V minus e power gamma Z. So this is actually what, V incident, and this is V reflected. So that's why I mentioned it like this: V minus e power gamma z by V plus e power gamma z, V reflected by V incident. That is right. That is how reflection coefficient is defined, right? So now our aim is to obtain, right, expression of reflection coefficient as a function of actually what? Z naught and ZL. I told, right? So the Z naught and ZL are right, tangible. We can easily measure those parameters. So our aim is to obtain expression of reflection coefficient in terms of Z naught and ZL, so that it will tell how much power or voltage will, what fraction of voltage will be reflected back for a given ZL, right? So if at all we are obtaining a expression for reflection coefficient in terms of Z naught and ZL, that, right, what is it, that expression should tell when ZL equal to Z naught, reflection is 0. So this gamma Z should be 0, right? So that's right. So our aim is derive the expression for reflection coefficient at the load end, right? So initially we'll derive the reflection coefficient at load end, right? Initially we'll derive reflection coefficient at load end, so we'll represent it as gamma L, right? This L signifies distance from origin, so gamma L, right? So reflection coefficient at load end in terms of Z naught and ZL, that is what we are going to do. So for that, this is the system model we are considering, right? We have V plus e power minus gamma z is actually what? Incident voltage, and V minus e power gamma z is actually what? Reflected voltage, right? And we know at any given point voltage can be represented like this: V is equal to V plus e power minus gamma z plus V minus e power gamma z at any distance, right? And current I plus e power minus gamma z and I minus e power gamma z, right? And we also know current can be represented as, in terms of V plus and V minus, as V plus e power minus gamma z minus V minus e power gamma z, right? So these are pretty much straightforward, right? So now what I want is, for z equal to L, right? For z equal to L, we need to find what is reflection coefficient. So what will be total voltage at the load? And so what I should do is, I should substitute z is equal to L, right? So that's what I've done here. VL, voltage at the load end, is actually what? Sum of incident and reflected voltages. So V plus e power minus gamma L plus V minus e power gamma L, right? And similarly, current will be V plus by Z naught e power minus gamma L, V minus by Z naught e power gamma L, right? So where Z naught is characteristic impedance. So what we'll do is, right, so here the ratio of V by I will be equal to Z, right? So at the load end, right, the ratio V by I is decided by what is the load impedance. So it's if load impedance is ZL, the ratio V by I at the load end should be equal to ZL. So that's what we are going to do now. So I know what is V, I know what is I, right? So VL by IL should be equal to what? ZL, right? So this is equation number 4 and 5. So 4 by 5, if I do, so VL by IL, that should be equal to ZL, and I'll get, right, V plus e power minus gamma L plus V minus e power gamma L divided by 1 by Z naught into this. So the Z naught will come into actually what? Numerator. So we are getting this, right? So now what is gamma L? Actually, gamma L is nothing but what? V reflected by V incident, or V minus e power gamma L divided by V plus e power minus gamma L, right? I hope you are not getting confused, and whether this pace is fine, or should I reduce the pace? Can anyone give me a feedback? Elvin, CR, right? Should I reduce the pace? Am I going too quick? Yeah. Need not be Elvin. Anyone can type in, not a problem. Yeah, please do respond. Okay, I'll go a bit slow. I'll go a bit slow. Right. So I should, right. So for me, it's the only subject which I'm teaching. But just now you came from some other subject, right? And if I talk as if actually what you are experts in this, right? I understand that, right? Sorry, right? I'll go a bit slow, right? I'll go. And do you want me to write this instead of actually what referring to this note? Do you think I should write it down on Word, or using this material would be fine? Okay, fine. Okay. Then I'll proceed with this. I'll go a bit slow. Right. So what I have, nothing. It's nothing is there. I know the voltage at load end is VL. That is given by actually what in this expression. If I substitute Z is equal to L, that will give me voltage at load end. Right. So that is one thing which you have to keep in mind. That is quite straightforward. And similarly, the current at load end. Right. What I should do in the current expression, I should substitute Z is equal to L. So that gives me the current expression. Now I'm telling the load impedance is ZL. So the load at the load end, the ratio of voltage to current should be equal to ZL. Right. That is how impedance is defined, ratio of voltage to current. Right. So the ratio of voltage to current at load end is equal to ZL, or ratio of voltage to current at load end, it is decided by ZL. Right. So now that's what I'm going to do now, right? So I'm going to divide V by I. So that's 4 by 5 is what I'm going to do, right? So 4 by 5. So VL by IL is equal to actually what? ZL. That is equal to what? That is equal to this by this, right? This by this. So numerator will be this and denominator will be this. And there is a 1 by Z0 in denominator that will go to numerator. That's it, right? Nothing complicated, right? So Z0 into V plus e power minus gamma L. So now what I want to find is I need to know what is V minus e power gamma L divided by V plus e power minus gamma L. So you can, there are V plus e power minus gamma L, V minus e power gamma L and all, right? So I should know what is this. For that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to if this is equation number 6, I'm going to divide the right hand side, both the numerator and denominator, with V plus e power minus gamma L. Right. Both the numerator and denominator of equation number 6, I am going to divide with V plus e power minus gamma L. Then what happens is, right, this V plus e power minus gamma L by V plus e power minus gamma L, that will become 1. Right. Then V minus e power gamma L divided by V plus e power gamma L. Right. So that is this term. That will become actually what? Gamma L. So that is my idea. Right. So that's what I have done here. Maybe I should zoom out a bit so that you can see the entire steps. Right. So equation number 6, on the right hand side, I am dividing both the numerator and denominator with V plus e power minus gamma L. Right. So V plus e power minus, so ZL is there, Z0 is there, and V plus e power minus gamma L divided by V plus e power minus gamma L, that is equal to 1. Right. Then V minus e power gamma L by V plus gamma L, that is there. Right. Again, 1 minus V minus gamma L by V plus gamma L. So by definition, this is nothing but what? Gamma L. So please don't confuse with the small gamma propagation constant and capital gamma reflection coefficient. Right. So I'll be telling gamma for both. Right. So please do excuse me. Right. Please don't have confusion. Right. So both are, unfortunately, both are actually what? Gamma. So this is gamma only, right? Can anyone correct me if I am wrong? Both are gamma only, right? This is gamma and this is I think it's small gamma and this is capital gamma. Can anyone correct me if I am wrong? Right. You can just type it in chat window. Whether both are gamma or one is gamma and other one is tau. All of you are there? Okay, maybe I should not be asking questions. Right. Okay, fine. Right. Yeah. So this is so you replace this with actually what? Gamma L. So I'll get ZL is equal to Z0 into 1 plus gamma L divided by 1 minus gamma L. Right. So from this, how to find gamma L? So that I leave it to you as an exercise. Right. So from this, we can find gamma L is equal to ZL minus Z0 by ZL plus Z0. Right. It's nothing. You just actually what? expand it and then collect all gamma L term, then rearrange it, you will get this. So gamma L is actually what? ZL minus Z naught divided by ZL plus Z naught. So in this expression, right? So this is the expression. This is the expected result. If you are asked to derive expression for reflection coefficient at the load end, it's very simple derivation. This is the expression. Now my question is, right, whether it satisfies whatever conditions we told, right? What will happen if ZL is equal to Z naught, right? Whether reflection coefficient is 0. Can you verify that when ZL is equal to Z naught, whether reflection coefficient will be 0? Please. Right, why no one is responding? Right, should I give you some time to relax? Right, maybe you are coming from some other subject. Right, maybe we can, right, relax for some time. All of you can take a deep breath. Right, if you want, you can actually what, have a cup of coffee. And do you want a break? Do you think you want a break? A small break, a 2-minute break. No response. So either I should assume, right, all of you have just joined and right, kept it open and left the place. Shall I continue?
Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah, fine. Yeah, so so what happens when ZL equal to Z naught? It's straightforward, nothing is there. When if you substitute ZL equal to Z naught in this, gamma L will become Z naught minus Z naught. So numerator becomes 0, so gamma L is 0. So that is correct. Gamma L is 0 for ZL equal to Z naught. So next my question is, what will happen if I open circuit the load end, and what will happen if I short circuit the load end? Right. So I'll give you 2 minutes. Just tell me what is gamma L for a perfect open circuit, and what is gamma L for a perfect short circuit. So whether we can have a perfect short circuit for a transmission line, that is another question. Right. So my question is, what is the value of gamma L for perfect open circuit, and what is the value of gamma L for perfect short circuit? Right. So first you find what is the gamma L for perfect short circuit. I'll give 2 minutes time. All of you can type it in chat window. So perfect short circuit means, I'll give a hint, ZL is equal to 0. Right. So then what happens to gamma L? And what is the meaning of that? You should tell that. Please do type in chat window. For a perfect short circuit, what is gamma L? And after that, for a perfect open circuit, what is gamma L? It's very straightforward. Substitute ZL is equal to 0. What is that we are getting? Yeah, Disha, yeah, all of short circuit gamma is minus 1. Okay, fine. So we should just think through what actually is the physical significance of this value of minus 1. Right. And for a perfect open circuit, what will be gamma L? For a perfect open circuit, what will be gamma L? For a perfect open circuit, what will be gamma L? Right. So perfect open circuit means ZL is infinity. Right. So ZL is infinity. For perfect open circuit, ZL is infinity. Right. Open circuit, ZL is infinity. So if you substitute ZL is equal to infinity, so it will become actually what? Indefinite form, right? Indeterminate form. So it is infinity by infinity. Then what you should do is you should apply limit ZL tends to infinity, right? So then you should apply this L Hospital's rule, right? L Hospital's rule. So if you apply the limit, what will happen? So okay, I'll give it as a homework. What will happen if ZL is infinity, right? And what is the meaning this gamma L being -1? So if it is a perfect short circuit, what happens? The whatever is incident, that will be reflected back. Of course, there will be actually what phase reversal, right? Incident voltage and reflected voltage will be exactly out of phase. That is the meaning of, right? So what is gamma L actually? V incident by V reflected, right? This is equal to -1 means the magnitudes are same, but phase is actually what exactly opposite, or V reflected is minus of V incident, right? That is the meaning. So what will happen to an open circuit line? So that I give it as a homework, right? So you just find it out and come back later, right? Fine. So that is the expression for gamma L, and so these questions can be asked, right? Once it was asked, comment on obtain expression for gamma L, right? What will happen? So comment on the reflection coefficient at the load end for a perfect short circuit and perfect open circuit. It was asked once, right? And of course, now next question is, what is the maximum value of gamma L and what is the minimum value of gamma L? What is the minimum and what is the maximum? What are the minimum and maximum values of gamma L? Please do type in. What is the minimum and what is the maximum values of gamma L? Minimum value happens when denominator is 0, so that is 0. And what will be maximum value of gamma L? So this gamma L cannot be negative, right? This gamma L cannot be negative, right? The minimum value happens, right, when ZL equal to Z naught, that is equal to actually what, 0. And sorry, sorry, I told gamma L cannot be negative, so it's not that. Gamma L can be negative or positive, right? So but the minimum value is 0 and maximum value, magnitude, right? Maximum value of gamma will be 1, magnitude value will be 1, right? So it can range from -1 to actually what, +1. So the magnitude should be, maximum is actually what, 1. So that will happen either for an open circuit or short circuit, right? That will happen either for an open circuit or short circuit, right? Yeah. And if ZL is any other value other than actually what, Z naught, you will get intermediate values, right? So that is about gamma L, and it's a complex quantity. So gamma L is a complex quantity. So either you can write it as gamma L will be equal to what, gamma I, that's gamma imaginary, plus J times gamma gamma real, and plus J times gamma imaginary. So it will have a real part and imaginary part. This is one way of representing it. Or in other way, it will have some magnitude, mode of gamma L, and phase, e power j theta L. So that's what I have written here. So this gamma L, it's a complex quantity. So it will have a magnitude, mode of gamma L, and phase actually what, theta L. So please do note this down. So please do keep this in mind, right? So as I mentioned, the mode of gamma L is a magnitude and never greater than unity, right? And theta L is the phase angle between the incident and reflected voltages, right? Theta L is the, so if you represent gamma L in complex form as mode of gamma L times e power j theta L, or mode of gamma L angle theta L, both are same, right? So theta L is actually what, the reflected voltage at the receiving end, and usually called actually what, phase angle of the reflection coefficient, right? So that's what. So is there any doubt in this? We have derived the expression, and apart from that, we discussed what will happen to gamma L if ZL equal to Z naught, what will happen to gamma L when, if it is a perfect short circuit, and I asked you to find out what will happen to gamma L if it is an open circuit, and we have seen the range of values that gamma L can take, right? So we have discussed most of the aspects, right? So next, right, it's another important topic. So I have just written it as a question. Why? Because it was asked many times for university exam. So next topic is derive expression for reflection coefficient at some point located at a distance d from the receiving end. So this is the at a distance d from receiving end. Why? Because we know, right, gamma L, it can straight away be calculated as ZL minus Z0 divided by ZL plus Z0, right? So this is quite straightforward. So it is already available. We know that, right? Now the question is, derive expression for reflection coefficient at some point located at a distance d from receiving end. Distance d from receiving end, not from the sending end. So that is the twist in this. In terms of gamma L, so in terms of gamma L, you should obtain the expression. So it's right. You can call it gamma D. So we are right. So in question itself, they have mentioned you can call it gamma D, where D is not distance from the sending end. This is the D is the distance from the receiving end. So D is not distance from sending end. D is the distance from receiving end. So please do keep this in mind. Here L is actually what distance from sending end, but here D is distance from receiving end or load end. So in question itself, it is mentioned, you represent it as gamma D, right? Otherwise, if it is not mentioned, right, you should mention, let us call it gamma D, right? So we call it gamma D. In fact, it would have been gamma of L minus D, right? In fact, it would have been gamma of L minus D, but we are calling it as gamma D. So this is again another very important parameter, right? At a distance d from load end, what is the reflection coefficient? So what is the meaning of that? At a distance d from load end, there will be some incident voltage and there will be some reflected voltage, the ratio of these two things, right? So V reflected by V incident at any given point. So that is what we have to find. So we know gamma Z, that is reflection coefficient at any given distance Z, is given by ratio of incident voltage. Incident voltage is V minus e power gamma Z and reflected voltage is V plus e power minus gamma Z, right? So now what you have to do, we should find it for Z is equal to L minus D, right? In this expression, Z is actually what distance from origin, right, or sending end, right? So gamma D we have defined, it is the reflection coefficient at a distance d from origin. So that happens actually what at, so this distance is L and this separation is D, so this will be Z is equal to L minus D. So gamma Z is equal to V minus e power gamma, so you can substitute Z is equal to L minus D. Substitute Z is equal to L minus D in this expression. So we will get gamma D is equal to V minus e power gamma of L minus D divided by V plus e power minus gamma of L minus D, right? So you can split it. So you will get V minus e power gamma L divided by V plus e power minus gamma L. This is nothing but what? Capital gamma L, right? That is reflection coefficient at load end. And here I have e power minus gamma D divided by e power plus gamma D. So if you take this e power plus gamma D to the numerator, it will become actually what? E power minus gamma D into e power minus gamma D. So it is e power minus 2 gamma D, right? So this is the expression, gamma D is equal to gamma L e power minus 2 times propagation constants times D, right? And we know this gamma L intern is actually what? It's a complex quantity. It has a magnitude and a phase, right? A magnitude and a phase. So we substituted that gamma L is gamma L in e power g theta L times e power minus 2 alpha plus j beta D, right? So now what I want is I should know what is the magnitude and I should know what is the phase, right? For that, what I should do, if you write a complex number as r e power j theta, right? So whatever is the argument of e power j, that is actually the phase, and remaining everything will be the magnitude. So this is magnitude and this is phase. So what I am doing is I am just collecting all the e power j terms. So e power j theta is there and e power minus j 2 beta d is there. So I can rewrite it like this, gamma L e power minus 2 alpha d, right? So this part is actually what? The magnitude, and e power j theta L minus 2 beta d, right? This is the phase, right? So it is gamma L e power minus 2 alpha d times e power j theta L minus 2 beta d, where this theta L is the phase between incident and reflected voltage at the load end, right? D is the distance from load end, beta is phase constant, alpha is actually what? Attenuation constant. So it's obvious, if it is a lossless line, this term will be equal to actually what? 1. E power minus 2 alpha d will be equal to 1 for a lossless line. And for a lossy line, what actually is the meaning of this? As d increases, its phase will change. Of course, phase will change, right? And also, as we move across the receiving end, as we move across the sending end, the gamma will slowly fall. So I'll draw a graph, right? I'll draw a graph, right? This is Z is equal to L. So at Z equal to L, suppose the reflection coefficient is mod of gamma L, right? So then as we move across, right, what happens is, right, it will exponentially decay for a lossless line. That is the meaning of this, right? So now, once it was asked to draw the phasor for this, phasor representation for this, right? So this was the question: derive expression for reflection coefficient at some point located at a distance d from receiving end in terms of gamma L, and hence plot the phasor, right? So how to plot a phasor? So this is what we have to plot phasor. So I think I'll just show it here. So suppose I have a phasor r angle theta or r e power j theta. How to draw the phasor? So this is actually what? Complex plane, right? This is theta equal to 0. This is theta equal to 90 degree, theta equal to 180 degree, and theta equal to 270 degree. And so what happens is, as I move in the anti-clockwise sense, theta increases. Theta increases in anti-clockwise, right? And in clockwise, actually what? Theta decreases. It's negative theta. So this theta equal to 270, I can write as actually what? Theta equal to minus 90, right? This is actually what? If I'm measuring in this direction, I can call it as actually what? Minus 180, right? Minus 270. So it's already known to you, right? So now what we have to draw is, sorry, right? What we have here is, right? So please try and understand this. Why? Because it is required for this Smith chart concept, and right. So suppose if gamma L is mod of gamma L times e power j theta L, how to plot this in phasor? How to plot this in phasor? Suppose mod of gamma L is equal to what? 1 unit, or let it be mod of gamma L, whatever, right? So the magnitude is this much, right? And phase is this. So first I should measure theta L. So it's whether it's positive or negative. Phase is positive. So I should measure theta L in anti-clockwise sense, right? So I should suppose this is theta L, right? This angle is theta L, right? In anti-clockwise sense, right? And the magnitude is actually what? Mod of gamma L. So I should draw a line whose length is actually what? Mod of gamma L. So this length will be mod of gamma L, and this angle will be theta L, right? So this is theta equal to 0. This is theta equal to actually what? 90 degree, or else you can call actually what? This is real axis, and this is actually what? Imaginary axis. But if we are interested in polar representation, instead of real and imaginary axis, we will call magnitude and phase, right? So distance from origin is magnitude, and the angle measured from this positive x-axis, that is theta equal to 0 in anti-clockwise sense, is phase, right? So now next what we have to plot is, right, gamma d is nothing but what? Can anyone tell me what was the expression for gamma d? Mod of gamma L times, please, can anyone tell me the expression for gamma d? Final expression?
E power minus 2 alpha d.
E power minus 2 alpha d times
E power
j into theta L
minus
theta L
2
minus 2 beta D, right? So here you can see the magnitude is this, right? This is the magnitude, and phase is this, and this is the phase. And you can see magnitude and phase both are function of actually what? Distance from the load end. They are not constant. For a given D, it will be a constant, but as D changes, what happens? The phasor will rotate. As D changes, the phasor will rotate. You can see as stage, and also you can see magnitude will reduce, right? As D changes, the phasor will rotate, and also the magnitude will reduce, right? So that is what we have to draw, right? For instance, for if D is equal to L, right? If D is equal to or D is equal to 0, that is at load end, what happens? For D equal to 0, it will reduce to this, right? For D equal to 0, it will reduce to this, right? And as D increases, we have to see what will happen. That's what we are going to do, right? 1 second, I'll draw this, right? And what actually is this? How to measure this phase, right? So it is theta L minus 2 beta D. So first I should, right, to identify the phase, first I should travel theta L in anti-clockwise sense. So first I'll travel theta L in anti-clockwise sense, right? Then from here I should travel actually what? A distance of 2 beta D in clockwise, in minus direction. So then I should travel 2 beta D in clockwise. I hope you are able to appreciate this. So the phase is actually what? Theta L in anti-clockwise and 2 beta D clockwise. So either I can measure 2 beta D clockwise first, then I can go to theta L, or else I measure theta L in the clockwise and then 2 beta D in the anti-clockwise, right? So this is how I'll measure phase. And what happens to the magnitude, right? As D increases, and you can see as D increases, the magnitude will exponentially decay, right? As D increases, the magnitude will exponentially decay, right? Magnitude will exponentially decay as D increases. This is mode of gamma D. It will exponentially decay, and the phasor will rotate, right? It will rotate and it will reduce its size. So what will happen is you will get, right? So initially you may get, right, the distance will be mode of gamma L. Initially the distance will be mode of gamma L at D equal to 0. As D increases, what happens is, I'll take another color. So that, right, as D increases, what will happen is the phase changes, and also actually what? The magnitude decreases. So finally, as D is increasing, it will actually what? Spirally, that phasor will rotate and the magnitude will reduce. So you will get a spiral, right? You will get a spiral sort of thing, right? At any given point, right, the magnitude will be, for instance, at this particular point, right? At this particular point, this is a phasor, right? That is actually what? For that particular distance. So as D increases, what is happening? The magnitude is decreasing and the phase is changing. So you will get a rotating phasor or spirally invert phasor. That is what you have to draw, right? That's what I have shown here, right? So it's real axis and it is imaginary axis, or this is theta equal to 0 and this is theta equal to 90 degree, right? So initially for D equal to 0, this is the phasor. Then as D increases, what happens is the magnitude decreases and the phase angle changes. So it will rotate and it will spirally actually what? Reduce, right? So at any given distance D, right? At any given distance D, the phase angle will be actually what? Plus theta L, right? From there, minus 2 beta D, right? So for any given D, the phase angle will be this much, plus theta L minus 2 beta D. So theta L minus 2 beta D, right? So this will be the phase angle. So minus 2 beta D anti-clockwise from theta L. So this is how you will draw the phasor. So next, my question is, did anyone understand this? Did I complicate it? Please do let me know. It's really important. That's why I'm asking. Right. So you can take some more time and think through it. But at least now that I have told this, did anyone understand this? How it is drawn? How what happens? So phasor is actually what it will rotate, right? So voltage can be represented as a rotating phasor, right? So its length depends upon the magnitude, and actually what the angle depends upon actually what the phase. Did anyone understand this? Can you please type it in chat window? How this phasor diagram was drawn. Anyhow, this material is made available to you, right? You can go through it, right? But now, please do let me know, did anyone actually what? No one understood. To which point do you think was difficult in understanding, right? So for maybe we'll see some examples how to draw phasor, right? Then, right. So 3 angle 120 degree. How to draw this phasor, or 3 e power j 120 degree, right? How to draw this phasor? So in complex plane, right? First I should, the angle is 120 degree, so I should measure 120 degree in anti-clockwise. So say this is 120 degree in anti-clockwise. So the phasor will be oriented along this line, and the distance I should measure, that is actually what, 3 units. So the distance is 3 units. So this is a phasor. This phasor is actually what, 3 angle 120 degree, right? Now if I say 3 angle 120 degree minus 70 degree, right? So this is actually what, 3 angle 120 degree minus 70 degree means it's actually what, it's equal to 3 angle 120 minus 70, I think it is 50 degree, 3 angle 50 degree. So for that, what I can do is, first I'll measure 120 degree in anti-clockwise. Then from this point I should measure 70 degree in clockwise. So I should measure 70 degree in clockwise. So this is 120 degree and this is 70 degree. So finally what I'm getting this phasor is 3 angle 50 degree. So how I measured that? 120 degree in anti-clockwise, and then from here 70 degree in clockwise, right? So what if instead of 3 it is 2? Then what will happen? Its length will be reduced. That's it, right? That's what is happening. So I have a phasor, right? I have a phasor whose magnitude is a function of d, and angle is also a function of d, right? Magnitude and angle both are functions of d. So what happens is, I'll draw a meter diagram, right? So what happens is, initially say the phase is theta L for d equal to 0, right? For d equal to 0, phase is theta L, and length is mode of gamma L. Length is mode of gamma L initially for d equal to 0. This is for d equal to 0. So as d increases, what is happening here? So I'll just once again write this. Gamma d is mode of gamma L into e power minus 2, minus 2 alpha d times e power j theta L minus 2 beta d. So as d increases, what happens to the magnitude and phase? So let's try and draw a diagram. So d increases, what happens to mode of gamma d and angle of gamma d, right? Angle of gamma d. So if d equal to 0, mode of gamma d will be mode of gamma L, right? And angle of gamma d will be theta L, right? For any other value, right? For d equal to, say, actually what, d, right? It will be mode of gamma L into e power minus 2 alpha d. So which means gamma L reduces and phase is actually what? Theta L minus 2 beta d. So from theta L, it will actually what? Move 2 beta d in the clockwise direction, right? So as d increases, what happens? This phasor rotates in the clockwise direction. So as I'll write it here, as d increases, right, phasor rotates, maybe you can note it down, in clockwise direction, right? Then magnitude reduces exponentially. So as d is increasing, what happens to this phasor? It will rotate in anti-clockwise direction, and the magnitude will. I am just tracing the tip of these phasor. Maybe tomorrow we can see a simulation of this, right? I'm just tracing the tip of this phasor. So the tip of the phasor, what will happen is it will just spirally invert. So this will be actually what, how the phasor will look like. And after some time, gamma L becomes actually what, 0, right? But if it is a lossless line, what will happen? This term will be equal to 1, e power 2, e power 0, that will be equal to 1. So for a lossless line, the phasor will only rotate, right? Magnitude won't change. For a lossless line, the phasor will only rotate. For a lossless line, and draw here, right? Initially, this will be the phasor and it will rotate. So the tip of the phasor will trace a circle. So for a lossless line, as you move from load end to source end, what will happen? The phase of the reflection coefficient changes, but the magnitude remains the same, which means the magnitude of incident and reflected wave will be same along the length of a transmission line. For a lossless line, the incident and reflected magnitude will be same, right? But there will be phase changes. Phase between them will be actually what, changing, right? So at d equal to 0, that is at load end. So this is the phasor at load end, right? So as d increases, what will happen? It changes, and after some time, actually what, same values will repeat. After some time, same phases will repeat, right? So what will be this length, right? The distance for the wave to complete 360-degree rotation, what will be that length, right? When it will rotate, repeat, all those things. I'm just keeping it as actually what, some open questions. You can think through it later. So I think today we'll, right? Loshika, is it fine now? You asked me to repeat it.
Yes, sir.
Is it clear now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. Initially, I didn't tell I was tracing the tip of the phasor. I think that might have made you confused. But was that the confusion?
Yes, sir. Now it's okay.
Right. Like I didn't tell I am tracing the tip of phase, right? Phasor.
Yes,
That's
sir.
why, right? Okay. Maybe. Please excuse. So please feel free to actually what, ask doubts, and I would be very happy if you ask me actually what, specific doubts. Please don't keep quiet, right? And if you think I'm telling some nonsense, then you can just talk to my mouth. Not a problem, right? Don't have to feel bad, right? Or else, if you think what I if at all you are not understanding what I'm telling, please stop me and ask to repeat. So at times, if I'm writing something on the board, right, I may not be able to see the messages. So feel free to unmute yourself and ask. If I'm going fast, ask me to go slow, right? If you want me to repeat, please do that, right? Finally, the aim is actually what, you people should be able to appreciate the aspects. You should be able to, right, carry it. You should have some takeaway, but it's not I simply coming here and finishing the syllabus. right? So please feel free to ask question, right? Oh, right, and try to ask specific questions. Try to understand which aspect you didn't, which aspect was not clear. Then you try to ask question, right? So I think it's almost time, right? We'll wind up, right? We'll wind up, and I would like to tell one, right? Okay, maybe in next class I'll tell. I just wanted to tell you about importance of actually what metacognition. Metacognition is. I'll tell you a story. Right, so maybe next class I'll tell that. Right, so that's very important. So please do type in your US sense. If you have any doubts, you can stay back and ask. Right, otherwise you can leave. If anyone has any doubt, please feel free to ask. I hope the discussion was clear.